Hi there everybody, how are we doing? My name is Boomy and you're watching my channel, Boomy Reactions. Now today guys, we have another Fat Electrician video to catch up with. So this one has been requested through Buy Me a Coffee. And this comes as a request from JT. Thank you so much for your support, JT. Thank you so much. And so JT, you say you should definitely react to the World War II Veteran versus HOA Barfoot. Okay, so I've got some questions here. First of all, what's the HOA? Like something association? I'm not sure. I have no idea what they are. I'm not going to lie. So we have a World War II veteran. So I'm presuming that's the name of the veteran. So we've got Barfoot. Okay. So if it's the Fat Electrician, I'm just trying to make sense of what the HOA is going to be. Do you know what? Nick's going to tell us. So let's just get straight into the video and I'm sure all will be clear. And guys, if you're enjoying these reactions, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Thank you so much, my lovelies. If you're interested, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee account. That link is over here. And if you would like to help support this channel any further, I do have a Patreon account. If you want to check that out, that is in the link below. Right, okay.
This is it. This is a trifecta, a video where I finally get to talk about the military while simultaneously bashing on Karens and HOAs all at the same time.
Karens are in the HOAs. Karens? Who doesn't love a good war with a Karen?
Ladies and gentlemen, the year is 2009. It's December.
Okay.
And it's been one of the craziest years in recent history. Barack Obama has just been inaugurated president. The record for the highest grossing movie of all time has just been shattered by Avatar.
Oh,
the number one song of the year is the Black Eyed Peas' Boom Boom Pow. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, has passed away. And Kanye West is now famous for interrupting Taylor Swift during the VMA.
Do you remember that?
And on top of all of that, it's been one of the worst economic years for America since the Great Depression, with unemployment peaking at 10% and the housing market down 30%. And despite all the craziness going on in the world, in Richmond, Virginia, a 90-year-old man still takes time out of his day to walk out of his house every morning and hoist the American flag on the 21-foot flagpole in his front yard. Later that morning, he would walk right past that flagpole on his way to the mailbox to get the mail. And in the mail that day, he would receive a letter from a high-powered law firm informing him that he was hereby ordered to remove that flagpole and never fly the American flag in his front yard again, due to, and I quote,
What? Did I mishear that? So he's been ordered to not fly the flag, which he has done every day in his front garden. How long? Was he 90 years old? Do you know, pick your battles, right? 90-year-old veteran. That must be, this is Barfoot. This is the veteran, right? Okay, so who can tell you not to do that in your front yard? Okay, carry on.
Aesthetic reasons relating to curb appeal. And I know what you're thinking. How on earth can you order somebody in America to not fly the American flag in their own front yard? Well, unfortunately, this gentleman lived in an HOA, a homeowners association, which if you don't know is basically diet communism. It's where a bunch of people build some nice houses, then they get together and they're like, hey, we got all these nice houses. You know what we need? More government. We've got federal, state, county, municipal. It's not enough. We need even more rules. We should come together, designate a tribunal of elder Karens to make all the important decisions for us, you know, like whether or not I'm allowed to park my truck in front of my house overnight, what colored flowers I'm allowed to grow in my garden, and what color I'm allowed to paint my fucking house, you know, to protect our property value. But it is on this day that the tribunal of Karens in charge of the Sussex Square HOA in Richmond, Virginia are about to find out the hard way that they have picked a fight with the wrong guy, because this is not just any old man. This is retired Army Colonel Van T. Barfoot, a combat veteran with 35 years of service and the recipient of a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, 2 Army Air Medals, the Legion of Merit, 3 Purple Hearts, and the Congressional Medal of Honor. Born in 1919, Van would grow up in Mississippi during the Great Depression as a one-quarter Choctaw Native American farm kid. Then, in 1940, at the age of 21, he would volunteer to join the U.S. Army. He would achieve the rank of sergeant by 1941, and then Pearl Harbor would happen.
Just before we go any further, my British brain is struggling to process this. You have to help me out, guys. A 90-year-old war veteran who has fought for this country, I say this country, I mean the US, obviously, the same country that these HOA, this housing association, has decided to create, fancy itself a bit of a power, and what kind of pluck these rules, these regulations out of nowhere, just between all of the elder Karens, between the elder Karens, they have just, and maybe I don't know what's a man, Kevin. What is a man Karen? I think I just said it then. Is it a Kevin? I just said Kevin by accident. What's the male equivalent of a Karen, guys? Surely they're in these HOA councils. So they have, I mean, why pick the rules that they do? Is there any sense behind it? Are they actually an authority? Have they actually got no power whatsoever? How does it work? Because we don't have these over here in the UK. We're just, at the mercy of our local councils. We don't really have HOAs. So how do these work? Is it, please tell me it's not as daft as Nick has jested then. They can't tell you whether you can park your truck outside your house, can they? I understand if you have a layout of a street where it's a health and safety thing. I understand. Okay. Maybe you've got a lot of children. I don't know. For whatever health and safety reason. Okay, I can get on board with that one. Can they really decide to tell you what flowers you can and can't grow in your front yard? Please tell me that's a joke. That's not. Or what colour you can paint your house. See, it would be our councils. If we decided to change anything too aesthetic about the front of our houses, our homes, we'd be at the mercy of our council. It would be up to those to write to us and say, oh, actually, no, can't do that. I don't think it's very common. If you decided to paint your house or render it a certain colour, I highly doubt you're going to get Mither from the council saying, oh, no, actually, we don't like that aesthetic on this road. There has to be more of a reason for it. So I'm really struggling to understand how the elder Karens come about this level of authority, this level of access. Please tell me that this is a joke, because it sounds ridiculous. Why would you? What God-given right do you have to tell an army veteran that fought for your country to not fly his country's flag? I don't know if you can tell, I'm actually getting quite flustered. I'm getting quite offended on behalf of this poor gentleman.
In 1940, the United States Army had 269,000 soldiers, and by the end of 1941, it had 1.4 million. And with now Sergeant Barfoot being a non-commissioned officer in a leadership role, he is one of the few people that America and the world would turn to train and lead all these new recruits into the largest war the world has ever seen. And that is exactly what Sergeant Barfoot did, leading his men through 3 amphibious landings at Sicily, Salerno, and Anzio before his entire unit would begin fighting their way inland through Italy. Then at the small town of Carano, Italy, Barfoot and his entire company would be stopped in their tracks. In order to advance further inland, they were going to have to go through the mountains. But in those mountains, the Germans had established fortified fighting positions, and there was seemingly no way through. Over the course of the next several weeks, Barfoot would lead his squad through scouting missions, trying to find any possible way through the German defenses, but there were none. Every single possible pass through the mountains, Germans had laid down a minefield, covered that minefield with fortified machine gun positions, and on top of that, they obviously had the high ground. After being halted for over a month, the order would finally come down that Barfoot's company is to just attack, run face first into the German defenses, and try to fight their way through it. Now, if you watched last week's video, you know that trying to fight fortified machine gun positions with the high ground is an absolutely terrible idea. If you
it sounds like a suicide mission.
There's this guy, Jake McNasty McNeese. Him and 34 men successfully beat 700 Germans in a firefight because they had fortified machine gun nests and the high ground. And this time around, the Germans have that, plus a minefield. This is borderline a death sentence for Van's entire company, and everybody knows it. Now, Sergeant Barfoot believed that leaders should lead from the front and be willing to die for their men if necessary, which is the politically correct way of me telling you that Barfoot's about to do some gangster shit. He goes to the company commander and is like, hey, we're all gonna die anyways. Let me go out there with just me and my squad. We'll try to traverse the minefield, get in there, take out all the machine gun positions just by ourselves.
It's like the saying, isn't it? The attitude of a good manager or a good boss is generally, you know, I wouldn't be asking any of my employees to do anything I wouldn't do myself. You know, a good leader in times like this, you know, they lead from the front. You know, their men are behind them.
Company commander's like, I mean, we're all going to die anyways. Fuck it. Why not throw a Hail Mary, give you a shot? So that's exactly what they do. Barfoot takes off like a bat out of hell, leading from the front, not checking to see how far behind his men are. He then makes it all the way through the minefield, jumps into the ditch, looks behind him. His men haven't made it yet. Doesn't matter. Got to keep pressing forward. He gets to the first enemy machine gun emplacement, throws a grenade in there, blows up, bang, goes in to check, just anatomical confetti everywhere. Nobody survived. None of his squad mates have made it yet, but he hasn't heard a mine blow up in the background, so they must be okay. They're just being overly cautious. He advances to the second machine gun emplacement, rushes in, kills 2 Germans, the other ones surrender. At this point, Barfoot's squad catches up with them. Apparently 2 of them have gotten hurt while traversing that minefield, at which point Barfoot's kind of just like, fine, whatever, just stay with the prisoners, I'll take care of it. Just complete dad energy of like, hold the flashlight and stay out of the way, I'm fucking working.
Dad energy. He is carrying. He's carrying his men. Oh my gosh, he's basically like a one-man army.
Advances to the third enemy machine gun position completely by himself. Bear in mind, these Germans heard a grenade, a bunch of submachine gun fire, Germans screaming, and now there's just boss music playing, and it's getting louder as Van gets closer and closer. Van turns the corner, the Germans are like, fuck this, I quit, I surrender, I give up, you win. At this point, Sergeant Barfoot has effectively saved the day. His entire company now does not have to bum rush a minefield and a bunch of fortified enemy machine gun positions. Hooray. So Sergeant Barfoot changes gears, hops into the old leadership role. He starts consolidating everything, figuring out how many POWs he has, whatnot. And then a couple minutes later, the Germans launch a counterattack and 3 German tanks come rolling down the road directly towards them. At this point, Barfoot continues to dad dick the entire situation, just like, give me the bazooka.
He did not just say dad dick. He just says these hilarious things, and he says them so casually that sometimes you can miss them. Oh, Nick.
Stay in the trench, I got this. Gets out, walks out in front of these tanks, wide open, no cover, no concealment, nothing. Just standing out there like it's fucking Tiananmen Square with a bazooka, shoots at the first tank, knocks it out. The other 2 tanks are just kind of like, I mean, it's one crazy American with a bazooka standing in the open. This is for sure a trap, right? So they turn around and retreat. Now, just so we're all on the same page, this man has sprinted through a minefield, cleared 3 German machine gun nests, killed 8 Germans, captured 17 more, and knocked out a tank in the span of like 45 minutes. And he's like, I can do more. So he advances further into enemy-held territory by himself, finds a German artillery emplacement, proceeds to blow that up too, and then he's like, okay, that's probably enough for today. And he goes back to his men. He then proceeds to get his men and all of the POWs back to the company, and he himself personally carries his 2 wounded men back 1,700 yards. And that's it. That's the end of the story. That was like Tuesday to this guy, and he just goes on fighting through the rest of World War II like it was nothing.
Karens, I hope you're listening. Karens of the HOA. Though I'm not really 100% sure what it is yet. Anyway, I hope you're listening. I hope if you were one of the few who tried to fight the cause for this this veteran and his flag, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be absolutely ashamed. Listen to what this man has done. He is a hero of America. Of course he wants to fly his flag in his garden. Jeez.
Couple months down the road, his entire unit's in France. The commander walks up to him and is like, congratulations, you're receiving the Medal of Honor. At which point, Barfoot requested he receives it in the field in front of his men. He didn't want to wait till they got home and had a ceremony. He didn't want it in front of friends or family or Congress people. None of that. He wanted it in front of the men that nominated him to get it because that's what meant the most to him. He didn't really care about the medal itself. He cared that the men that he was tasked with leading into battle thought so highly of them that he thought he deserved that medal, and that's why he requested that he receive it in front of him. He would go on to make it through the war in one piece and return home as a Medal of Honor recipient and war hero. At this point, Lieutenant Barfoot then goes on to serve throughout the entire Korean War, seeing it through to its completion. He has now served 20 years in the military, and it's time to retire, is what most people would say. But Barfoot, on the other hand, is like, fuck it, I just need to do something new, something exciting, maybe a little bit easier on my knees. This whole light infantry thing isn't as light as I heard it was. I want to go ahead and be a helicopter pilot. So he goes to Army Aviation School as a major, and at the age of 40 ends up being one of the top helicopter pilots the Army has, and then he goes on to serve in Vietnam as a helicopter pilot. Okay, if you don't know, during Vietnam, like most dangerous jobs,
that was the most dangerous,
helicopter pilot, door gunner, hands down, not even a question, serves throughout the entire Vietnam War, comes back home, finally retires after 35 years in service and achieving the rank of colonel. He then goes on to finish out the rest of his working life as a military contractor. Now, military contractor, that could mean anything. He could be serving food at the chow hall. He could be sitting in an office giving people advice, writing manuals. He could be doing some extracurricular gangster shit. We really have no idea. However, I will point out it's a little bit odd that some dude from Mississippi decided to put his roots down in Richmond, Virginia, which is like, I don't know, an hour away from CIA headquarters. Like, you do what you want with that information, I guess.
Okay. We'll never know. We can speculate.
Then, after a career of doing some extracurricular gangster shit, contracting, he would go on, retire, and live happily ever after until one day in December of 2009, when at 90 years old, he would open a letter informing him he was not allowed to fly the American flag in his own front yard, which, bear in mind, literal Nazis with machine guns couldn't stop him from flying the American flag in Germany in the 1940s. And now you're gonna try to tell him he can't do it in fucking Virginia in his own front yard. It's a bold strategy. So the next day, Colonel Barfoot's son-in-law calls up the local radio show. They run with the story. It gets picked up nationally almost immediately. Everybody from the White House press secretary to Fox News to the local VFW is absolutely furious. Okay, stop. At this point in time, it's 2009. Barack Obama's president. Do you understand what I've just told you? This HOA is fucked up so bad that they've got the Obama administration and Fox News to agree on something, okay? This is a critical fucking error on their part. The HOA would end up backing down within a week because apparently when the entire nation is looking at you like the Eye of Sauron, it ends up being bad for the aesthetics and curb appeal of your little neighborhood. And then the law firm that wrote the letter in the first place,
the very reason that you said, you can't fly the flag because it's bad for our curb appeal, the value of our properties. Well, this isn't doing an awful lot for it, is it? So, swings and roundabouts.
Has since renamed and rebranded their entire law firm, and it's been signed into Virginia state law that no HOA can tell anybody to not fly the American flag on their property. Colonel Barfoot, proving victorious yet again, would then go on to fly the American flag in his front yard every single day for the next 2 years until passing away in his home at the age of 92. And as of March 2023, Fort Pickett in Virginia has since been renamed to Fort Barfoot in his honor. So in conclusion, whether it's a little old man at the restaurant eating ice cream for dessert, your friendly neighborhood mailman, or just some elderly gentleman trying to fly the American flag in his front yard, try to be nice to everybody because you really might not know who you're fucking with. Thanks for watching. Best way to support the video is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
I feel personally, and still feel personally, that I was doing my job. A leader is supposed to protect, lead, and sacrifice himself if necessary. I just can't imagine me ever fighting for a leader that wouldn't do that.
This is it.
Oh, we got to see the footage of him. Oh my gosh. The mind, absolutely. I'm baffled. Flabbergasted. I think sometimes in the chain of command, when there's an awful lot of middlemen, I think, silly policies and silly rules get enforced and then enacted, and it's almost like it stops being a real person, a real feeling person at the end of one of those lines either way. So that's what happens when you just put the middleman in between all these processes. You take that personalization out, so you take the feeling away from it. Am I making sense here? So I don't... The good part of me wants to believe that maybe the decision to write to this poor gentleman to say this, maybe it wasn't a direct request from a person. Do you know, I'm trying to explain what I mean. Maybe it was a number of middlemen making very bad choices, but taking that personalized decision away from the person above them, and so whatever. I'm not justifying it at all. I'm trying to see how someone could have been wrong and made this decision without being malicious. Do you know what I mean? But either way, how does that happen? Again, I'm not 100% sure how HOAs work, or if they literally are just a group of elder Karens that enforce silly rules and regulations around what you can and can't do with your homes. How bizarre, how... I haven't got words. It kind of doesn't seem real, because it seems like such nonsense. But we don't have anything similar over here. But the idea of telling this seasoned veteran, this elderly veteran, this poor man, telling him to not fly the American flag in his front yard is absolutely abhorrent. Like, there are more pressing matters. Neighbourhood security. There's definitely more important things that should be the focus of the elder Karens with their eye of Sauron. But yeah, it just seems wholly unfair. So unjustified. So there was a very pleasant outcome, though. Did they say a law was passed where they weren't allowed to, the HOAs were no longer in a position where they could tell people to not fly the flag? Well, I think I agree. I agree with that. It's a shame that the laws weren't put in place a little bit sooner, and then it has to come to things like this that happen. So I'm a little bit horrified to hear that in the beginning of Nick's story. I'm shocked. I'm really surprised. But like I say, there was a good outcome, wasn't there? It was rectified. It was sorted out, rightly so. Elder Karens should be ashamed of yourselves. Anyway, well, thank you so much for requesting that, JT. Very, very interesting. There was obviously a lot of military reference and everything going on in that story, but it was a lot more, I don't know, it brought it up to modern times. So it was a lot more, do you know what I mean? Relatable, because it only happened not that long ago. Very, very interesting. It was a very short story for Nick. Although I just made it last like 25 minutes just from talking. So guys, I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. And I'm sure you'll agree, it's a very fair outcome after that. Oh, bless him. So guys, take care of yourselves, my lovelies, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.